The man is horrified to discover that his reflection is moving half a beat behind him. Refusing to believe what he is seeing, he quickly waves at the surface of the water. His confused coworkers watching from the monitor rotate the camera, trying to see whether anything strange is lurking around him. But the moment the camera turns, his coworkers tell him to come back immediately, only for the radio signal to suddenly cut out. Just then, several drops of water land on the man's head. He instinctively looks up, and a pale human head suddenly falls from the tree. His companions at the camp panic and race over to check on him, but in only a few dozen seconds, the man has vanished without a trace. Over the next few minutes, I will break down the latest Korean horror film, Salmokji, Whispering Water. The film remained at the top of the Korean box office for 21 consecutive days, reaching a level of popularity comparable to Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. The strange part is that theaters were packed, while the internet was flooded with criticism, creating a complete divide between its box office success and public reputation. Today, let us find out what this movie is really about. The story takes place at a remote reservoir called Salmokji. A young couple travels there specifically to camp, but while they are flirting inside their tent, a strange noise suddenly comes from nearby. The boyfriend assumes the generator has tripped and casually asks his girlfriend to check it. But the moment she opens the tent, an even stranger, as though someone is stacking stones underwater one by one, the girlfriend suddenly seems possessed and begins walking toward the middle of the lake as if something is pulling her there. Seeing this from the shore, her boyfriend rushes forward to stop her, but in the next second, something even more disturbing happens.
거기서 뭐해? 왜 물에 들어가 있어?
When the man sees his girlfriend standing on the shore and shouting at him, his scalp goes numb. He forces down his fear and turns toward the person beside him, only to find the space completely empty. Had he just encountered a ghost? As panic overwhelms him, ripples spread across the lake, and a pale ghostly face slowly rises from beneath the water. Before the man can escape, an unseen force violently drags him beneath the surface. Terrified, his girlfriend rushes into the water to save him, but she disappears as well, leaving them as another missing couple claimed by Salmachi. The female lead, Soo-in, works for a panoramic street view mapping company. Her daily job requires her to travel to different locations, photograph the surroundings, and update the street view images used by navigation software. Recently, the company has received a flood of complaints from users who claim that a human head-shaped shadow has mysteriously appeared in the street view footage near Salmachi. The image quickly spreads online and causes widespread panic. The local government orders the company to remove it immediately and return to the location to shoot updated footage, threatening legal action if they refuse. With no other choice, the manager begins searching the company for someone willing to take the assignment. But the rumors about Salmokji being haunted are no secret. Not long ago, a senior employee named Gyosik went there to film. After returning, he took sick leave and completely disappeared. With Gyosik as a warning, everyone avoids the assignment, unwilling to gamble with their own lives. But at that exact moment, Soo-in voluntarily raises her hand. The missing Gyosik is her team leader. Ever since returning from Salmokji and taking sick leave, he has not appeared again. Gyosik's wife passed away only a few months earlier, leaving him in an already fragile state. Soo-in has been deeply worried about him and sent dozens of messages, but never received a single reply. She accepts the assignment because she wants to personally discover what happened to Gyosik. Before the team leaves, her ex-boyfriend and co-worker Ji-tae comes to find her. He repeatedly urges Soo-in not to throw her life away, warning her that Salmachi is a cursed and deeply sinister place. Besides, Soo-in has always been terrified of water, so there is no reason for her to take such a risk.
관심이 많네. 남처럼 지내자면서.
The team that eventually departs consists of 5 people: Soo-in, cameraman Jaeon-tae, sample collector Jaeon-jun, driver Song-bin, and Song-bin's girlfriend, Se-jong. Se-jong runs a paranormal channel. She only joins the trip to take advantage of the haunted rumors surrounding Salmokji, film some bizarre content, and gain more followers. Everyone else laughs and talks throughout the drive. while Soo-in remains lost in thought. Just as their vehicle reaches the destination and begins looking for somewhere to park, a dull impact suddenly comes from the rear, as though they have hit something. When everyone steps out, they discover that the vehicle has knocked over a stone tower. At the top sits a small bowl filled with rice, with a knife standing upright inside it, creating an indescribably disturbing sight.
이거 건들면 안 돼요.
An old man suddenly approaches, crouches down, and begins stacking the scattered stones back into place. Soo-in quickly steps forward to apologize, but the old man abruptly interrupts her and says something strange.
물에서 죽을 뻔했던 사람이.
네?
찾는 얼굴 있죠.
He then hands Soo-in a stone and gestures for the group to rebuild the rest of the tower. Just as everyone prepares to help, the old man suddenly presses his hands together and tells them to make a wish before the stone tower. Believing it to be an ordinary local custom, the group follows his instructions without giving it much thought. The first few stones are placed without a problem, but when Soo-in adds the final stone, something deeply disturbing suddenly happens. Soo-in's entire body tightens in fear, but when she looks around, everyone beside her remains completely calm, as though nothing happened. She assumes she must have imagined it. After the old man leaves, Soo-in begins assigning everyone their work, but the others are not taking the job seriously at all. Some are already planning to go fishing after they finish, while others have brought an inflatable boat and want to explore the lake, completely dismissing the sinister rumors surrounding Salmokji. Soo-in has no time to argue with them and takes Jae-tae to the road beside the reservoir. The road is 3 kilometers long. Jae-tae must carry the equipment and film the entire route on foot, but if everything goes smoothly, they should finish within 2 hours. Unfortunately, there is no GPS signal in the area, and every attempt to connect fails. Just as the group runs out of ideas, a familiar voice suddenly comes from behind them. Hyosik, who has been missing for days, has somehow appeared at Salmokji. Without explaining anything, he takes the controller, walks to the water, stands beneath a tree, and tells them to try again. Sure enough, the signal immediately reaches full strength. Hyosik explains that the same thing happened when he came here last time. Soo-in is filled with questions and tries to ask where he has been, but Hyosik deliberately avoids the subject and refuses to mention his disappearance. Once everything is ready, Jae-tae puts on the equipment and officially begins filming. At first, everything appears normal, but before long, Soo-in notices a human figure flashing past the roadside on the monitor. She immediately radios Jae-tae and tells him to step back and check, but the screen shows nothing there. Soo-in assumes her eyes were playing tricks on her, yet after Jae-tae continues forward, the figure appears again. Soo-in quickly tells him to return, but Jae-tae has already lost his patience. All he wants is to finish filming, wrap up the job, and go fishing. When Jae-tae reaches the section where the head-shaped shadow appeared in the street view image, he suddenly catches a dark figure moving in the corner of his eye. He calls out twice, but when no one answers, he gathers his courage and walks to the lake to investigate. Small ripples spread across the surface, as though something has just sunk beneath the water. But when he leans closer for a better look, the lake becomes calm again. Jae-tae immediately feels uneasy and quickly waves at the water, trying to confirm what he saw. Back at the camp, Soo-in notices his strange behavior and rotates the camera to see what he is doing. But in the next second, something appears on the screen that sends a chill down her spine. Terrified, Soo-in immediately tries to warn him through the radio, only for the signal to completely disappear at the worst possible moment. A pale human head then falls from the tree in front of the camera. Realizing something is wrong, Soo-in quickly leads the others toward him. Fortunately, Jae-tae is only frightened and has not suffered any life-threatening injuries. Just then, Jae-jun pulls a clump of long hair from the water. A ritual rice ball also falls out from inside it. Soo-in checks the footage they just recorded, and her heart immediately sinks. That clump of hair had clearly been hanging from the tree, so how could it have suddenly appeared in the water? Because the equipment fell into the lake with Giante and night is approaching, Soo-in contacts her manager and explains the situation. She asks the company to send replacement equipment and plans to take everyone to a nearby town for the night before returning to finish the shoot the next morning. But as she prepares to tell everyone to pack up, Hyosik suddenly steps forward and reminds her that the controller also fell into the water with Giante. Without the controller, even replacement equipment will be useless the next day. With no other option, the group begins searching along the lake for it. During the search, Hyosik suddenly mentions the wishes they made while rebuilding the stone tower.
너도 돌탑 쌓았어?
네?
여기서 돌탑 쌓으면 소원이 이루어진다잖아.
아,
무슨 소원 빌었어?
뭐 그냥
내 소원은 이루어졌거든.
Soo-in has no idea what he means and is about to question him, but he takes Giante and heads in another direction. The group searches until nightfall but still fails to find the controller. Their patience gradually runs out. Jun and Songbin crouch beside the lake and skip stones, while Sejong pulls out her paranormal equipment to record content. But none of them realize that the real hunt is about to begin. While searching near the shore, Soo-in finds a memory card labeled with Kyosik's name. She inserts it into Sejong's tablet and discovers that it is filled with photographs of Kyosik stacking stone towers around Salmachi. The images leave her completely confused. At that moment, her ex-boyfriend Chiite calls. He is driving toward them with the replacement equipment, but what he says next instantly sends a chill through Soo-in's entire body.
교식 팀장님, 어젯밤 병원에서 돌아가셨대.
뭐?
나도 놀라서 몇 번이고 확인해봤는데 정말 돌아가신 게 맞는 것 같아.
Before she can process what she has just heard, something strange happens to Songbin. He is showing off his stone skipping skills when the stone he throws suddenly flies back toward him. Even more disturbingly, what was clearly a stone in the air transforms into a dead bird within seconds. Before anyone can recover from the shock, the paranormal radio inside Sejong's bag suddenly activates. Her excitement immediately returns. Convinced that a spirit is nearby, she begins asking questions through the device.
다들 들었어요? 방금 왔냐고 했잖아요.
오신 거예요?
오늘
여긴 왜 왔어?
줘봐. 너 누구냐?
나.
오이씨. 그래 너 임마 너 여기 빠져 죽은 귀신이야?
나는 너 때문에 죽은 거야.
The words that come through strike Soo-in like a needle. Her face turns deathly pale, and the same sentence begins repeating over and over in her mind.
너 때문에 죽은 거야.
The others stare at the panicked Soo-in without understanding what has happened. Only one thought remains in Soo-in's mind. If Kyosik died long ago, then who has been spending the entire day with them? Elsewhere, Kyosik leads Giante deep into the forest, when a strange noise suddenly comes from behind. Giante spins around, only to discover that Kyosik, who was following him seconds earlier, has vanished. Even more disturbingly, the solid ground beneath his feet has somehow transformed into the surface of the lake. The sound of stones being stacked echoes around him. Following the sound, he sees a woman with long, tangled hair standing nearby. At the same time, Songbin and Sejong reach the same area. Through Sejong's night vision camera, a figure dressed in white suddenly appears. Judging by its shape, it is Kyosik, but no matter how loudly Songbin calls to him, the figure never responds. It simply keeps its head lowered and silently stacks stones.
오 팀장님, 저 일단 돌아가시죠.
Meanwhile, Soo-in and Jun search everywhere for Giante. They eventually find him, but what they discover is his cold, lifeless body. Just then, Songbin's scream echoes from nearby. and the two terrified groups reunite, holding his brother's body. Jae-jun's eyes fill with rage. Convinced that Gyo-sik is responsible, he prepares to hunt him down and take revenge. With the situation completely out of control, Soo-in can no longer hide the truth. She tells everyone that Gyo-sik is already dead. The entire group freezes in disbelief. The moment she finishes speaking, the sound of stones striking each other comes from deep within the darkness. They shine their flashlights toward it and see Gyo-sik standing completely still, gripping a stone in each hand. Jae-jun chases him all the way to the lake, where Gyo-sik walks directly into the water, blinded by rage and desperate to avenge his brother. Jae-jun ignores the others trying to stop him. He breaks free and rushes into the water after Gyo-sik. The screams from the shore finally snap Jae-jun back to his senses. Realizing the danger, he desperately tries to swim back, but an invisible force beneath the water suddenly grabs his ankle and drags him under within seconds. The survivors are terrified beyond belief. Without wasting another moment, they turn and run toward their vehicles. Sejong is the first to notice something wrong. The stone tower they knocked down earlier that day has completely disappeared. There is no time to think about it. The group starts the vehicle and desperately tries to escape the cursed place, but despite following the navigation system, they drive in circle after circle and return to the exact same location every time. They have become trapped in a supernatural loop. Songbin finally turns off the navigation system, jerks the steering wheel around, and speeds in the opposite direction. They think they have finally escaped, but before they get far, they encounter Ji-tae, who has arrived with the replacement equipment. Ji-tae stands in front of their vehicle and forces them to stop. What appears to be a road ahead is actually a vast stretch of deep, dark water. After stopping them, Ji-tae immediately shares the only clue that might lead them to safety. His navigation system also failed on the way there, so he stopped at a nearby house to ask for directions. The owner was the same old man the group encountered earlier that day. During their conversation, the old man explained that his daughter drowned in Salmokji many years ago, but somehow, she later returned. Ji-tae assumes the grieving father is speaking nonsense, but in the next second, he sees a woman's face flash behind the door. He asks how the old man's daughter came back, but the man refuses to answer directly. Instead, he gives Ji-tae a stone and tells him that if he wants the answer, he must make a wish before the stone tower. Ji-tae takes out the stone and considers making a wish to discover a way out. The moment Soo-in hears the word wish, she suddenly understands. After knocking over the tower earlier that day, every member of the group made a wish while rebuilding it. Some wished to become rich, while others wished to marry 10 women. Soo-in wished to see the missing Gyo-sik again. It appears that the stone tower grants wishes by summoning the dead person someone wants to see. Gyo-sik previously said that his wish had already come true. That means he must have wished to see his late wife one more time. After connecting everything, Soo-in reaches a conclusion. The stone tower is the source of every supernatural event, and destroying it may be their only chance to escape. But the tower has already disappeared, so they must leave the vehicle and search for its location. Songbin immediately objects. He believes staying inside the vehicle is their safest option and that going outside would be the same as throwing their lives away. The two begin arguing. At that moment, Sejong says she is thirsty. Ji-tae returns to his own vehicle to get some water, and Soo-in follows because she does not want him to go alone. The moment they leave, Sejong guiltily confesses something to Songbin. She also made a wish before the stone tower. Her wish was to see a real ghost. Hearing this, Songbin begins forming a selfish plan. He suggests abandoning Soo-in and Ji-tae and escaping in the vehicle by themselves. Sejong initially believes it is wrong, but after Songbin repeatedly pressures her, she finally gives in. The two start the vehicle and speed away in panic, but before they get far, the windshield wipers suddenly begin moving on their own. Dirty water splashes across the windshield, as though something is deliberately preventing them from leaving. Songbin is eventually forced to stop the vehicle. While the two sit there helplessly, someone suddenly knocks on the window. When they see that it is a pair of patrol officers, Their overwhelming fear immediately fades. Soo-in quickly explains everything strange happening at Salmokji and begs the officers to rescue the rest of the group, but the officers explain that their patrol car broke down along the road and will not start. Soo-in immediately drives over and prepares to connect the batteries to give their vehicle power. Sejong waits inside the patrol car while another officer begins questioning her.
근데 언제 오신 거예요?
오늘이요.
몇 명이서 오신 건데요?
6.
The officer asks the exact same questions that came through the paranormal radio earlier. Sejong's scalp instantly goes numb. At the same time, Soo-in finishes connecting the cables and switches on the headlights. What appears in front of him nearly frightens him to death. There is no road ahead at all. He is standing directly beside the waters of Salmachi, and the officer in the passenger seat has already transformed into a horrifying ghost. Elsewhere, Soo-in and Ji-tae find the tablet Sejong left behind. They plan to use Kyo-sik's photographs to pinpoint the stone tower's exact location. Just as they begin making progress, Sejong's desperate screams for help suddenly come through the radio. Following the sound, they race back to the vehicle. There, they find Sejong curled up underneath it, trembling uncontrollably. Her eyes remain fixed on the roof as she repeatedly begs something to spare her. Realizing something is wrong, Ji-tae grabs Soo-in and immediately runs. He finds the inflatable boat Soo-in abandoned earlier and decides to see whether they can escape across the water. The farther the boat moves toward the center of the lake, the thicker the fog becomes. A terrible feeling suddenly hits Soo-in, and she sharply turns toward the person sitting beside her.
보트가 여기 있는 건 어떻게 알았어?
저쯤이었나? 내가 죽은 곳이.
The moment the words leave her mouth, Ji-tae's appearance suddenly changes. The person in front of her is now the already dead Kyo-sik. He slowly reveals the truth about his death to Soo-in. Early that morning, Kyo-sik received an unexpected notice informing him that the Salmokji assignment, which had originally belonged to Soo-in, had suddenly been transferred to him. That assignment ultimately caused him to drown in the reservoir.
다 죽었네. 너 하나만 죽었으면 끝났을 일인데.
After revealing the truth, Kyo-sik's face transforms into that of a terrifying water spirit. He repeatedly tries to lure Soo-in into jumping into the lake to atone for what she did. Soo-in finally realizes that this is not the real Kyo-sik. The moment she turns her head, the ghostly figure disappears. She grabs an oar and tries to paddle back, but a hand suddenly reaches from beneath the water and grips her tightly. Seeing this from the shore, Ji-tae immediately jumps into the lake to save her. The bottom of the reservoir is packed with countless submerged bodies. Ji-tae uses all his strength to find the unconscious Soo-in and pushes her back onto the shore with the last of his energy, but the water spirits wrap around him, leaving him unable to move. When Soo-in regains consciousness, she is lying beside the lake. The stone tower that mysteriously disappeared earlier is now standing silently in front of her. Soo-in staggers toward it and begins pulling apart the stones stacked on top. The moment she opens a small hole, the head of a water spirit appears directly in front of her. It grabs Soo-in by the head. As she struggles, she tears through the rope wrapped around the tower. The rice inside the offering bowl instantly rots, and the entire stone tower collapses. Ji-tae also manages to crawl out of the water. He rushes towards Soo-in and tightly holds her in his arms, but whether from shock or something else, Soo-in stares blankly ahead and does not say a word. Fortunately, the two finally manage to escape Salmachi. Several days later, Ji-tae returns to work first. As he prepares to call Soo-in and ask how she is recovering, he turns and sees that she has already arrived at the office. They exchange a brief greeting, and Soo-in silently returns to her desk. But Ji-tae is still troubled by one unanswered question. If destroying the stone tower allows someone to escape, then why did Kyo-sik still die there? While he is lost in thought, a large amount of water suddenly begins spreading around his feet. He follows the flow with his eyes and instantly freezes. The truth is finally revealed. They never escaped at all. Soo-in had already drowned in the lake at the exact moment the stone tower collapsed. And that is where the movie ends. Some viewers may still be confused. So let us quickly connect the logic behind the entire story. Before Salmokji was built, the area was originally an unmarked mass grave. To save money, the developers never relocated the graves. They simply covered the area with soil and flooded it, causing the spirits buried below to accumulate an overwhelming amount of resentment. The stone tower was originally used by locals to honor the dead and offer them salvation, but after being corrupted by the resentment beneath the water, it became a bridge connecting the worlds of the living and the dead. The old man's daughter drowned in Salmachi many years earlier. Unable to accept her death, he learned dark rituals and transformed the stone tower, which had originally been used for worship, into a sacrificial trap. He tricks every visitor into making a wish before the tower. In reality, each living soul becomes an offering. By continuously feeding the reservoir more resentment, the old man is able to force his daughter's spirit to remain in the living world and stay beside him. The moment someone makes a wish, they have effectively signed a death contract and can never escape the reservoir. The upright bodies beneath the water belong to all the victims who were lured there and sacrificed over the years. Just like the young couple at the beginning, the company had originally assigned Soo-in to photograph Salmokji, but because she suffers from a severe fear of water, she became too frightened to begin the job after arriving. After returning to the company, she secretly transferred the assignment to Kyosik, effectively turning him into her replacement sacrifice. Anyone who makes a wish can never leave Salmachi. That means Soo-in had already drowned when the stone tower collapsed. Everything shown afterward, including their escape back to the city and their return to the office, was nothing more than an illusion created by the curse. My guess is that Chiite did not survive either. The moment he accepted the old man's stone, his desperate desire to save Soo-in and escape had already become a wish. Half of the reason this film became a box office champion was the supernatural attention surrounding the real reservoir that inspired it. The other half was its tightly constructed cycle of fear, where every answer only traps the characters even deeper. The film does not rely on cheap jump scares or ghosts suddenly lunging into the camera, but the longer you think about it afterward, the colder the chill running down your back becomes. That is all for today's story. See you in the next one.